Will college basketball's rule book makeover stop crooked recruiting and corruption? Arizona star quarterback Khalil Tate makes the cover of Sports Illustrated. Is it a curse or a blessing? And why you should be ashamed for calling migrant children aliens. These stories and more next on the 520. Well, welcome to the 520. I'm Steve Nunez.
And I'm Marty Mata IV. Thanks for joining us.
All right, like every show, I have to call you out on what you're wearing. But let me just remind you.
Today it's
not so much about
Rose
Wisconsin or the Rose Bowl, 1994 champs or whatever the case may be. It's about that it's finally in the 90s and you're wearing a t-shirt. Yeah. When it's 130 degrees outside, you walk in sporting a jacket and a sweater and 3 t-shirts underneath.
I'm letting the overcast give me a tan now.
The only thing I like about your shirt, it's an omen for this upcoming season for Arizona, baby. Rose Bowl.
Oh, that's
what
where
I'm talking about.
That's where we're at.
Yeah, Wildcat.
Ring the bell.
All right, man.
Ring the bell.
Well, hot off the presses, NCAA makes a big decision today. In the wake of the FBI investigation, the NCAA is making major changes to college basketball rules, but will these changes really take corruption out of the game? Well, here are the 2 most significant takeaways. 1, the NCAA will allow elite high school players and college athletes to be represented by an agent. And 2, players who participate in the NBA Combine but are not drafted can return to school and maintain their eligibility. There is some good in these rule changes, but really pathetic. They mean nothing.
So to college kids, there isn't going to be much change for them. They have to not get drafted. There's only going to be a handful of people that affects, and there's the anomalies like Raleigh Elkins and more people from the Arizona alum this year. But the high school kids is who it's going to really affect. And at the end of the day, bottom line, are we going to protect them at some point? Do they have the capacity to be able to make a decision on the next 10 years of their future while an agent is giving them lip service over the dinner table? Is the NBA going to make any effort to protect these kids in any way? I don't think so. That's where the fallacy is going to begin.
Well, I think it's good that the NCAA is going to allow a student athlete who declares for the NBA draft to come back to school if they go undrafted. That actually is a good rule. However, it does hold the university a little bit hostage because they have to wait for that student to declare that they're coming back before they give up that scholarship and try and recruit another player. But I said this on the 520 when the NCAA created that commission led by former Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice, who knows nothing about basketball, okay? And they came out with some of these recommendations. Look, the recommendation that allows elite high school players and college players to be represented by an agent is absolutely ridiculous. It does nothing to stop corruption. In fact, it puts corruption right on the doorstep of all of these elite athletes. It's like putting a wolf in a sheep pen. Instead of going directly to an assistant coach like Book Richardson, former Wildcat assistant who's now facing FBI charges, they're just going to deal directly with these students, buy them shoes, buy them trips, buy them lunch, lure their families to get them to sign directly with the agent and directly with the shoe companies. It's pathetic, it's ridiculous, and we're going to see more corruption as a result of this rule change right there.
I agree, and bottom line for me, one quick thought, NCAA, do your part and make these kids care about their education. The NBA is doing a lot better of a job than you
How about just pay all the athletes? Make it fair for all of them, not just the elite.
And then we're into a whole nother beast, a whole nother belly of the beast.
No, pay them.
More on college. Arizona quarterback Khalil Tate made the cover of Sports Illustrated. Oh no, will this SI cover be a curse or a blessing for the Heisman candidate? The bold caption next to Khalil's photo as he poses in throwing motion reads, "Big and bad. He runs like a running back, hits like a linebacker. He's the nation's best quarterback. Hand him the Heisman."
Hand him the Heisman right now. What a great cover.
Let him earn the Heisman.
I think you give him the Heisman right now. And I'm going to call it right now. It's a blessing that he's on the cover of Sports Illustrated. Not only for marketing and helping the University of Arizona get some national pub and Khalil Tate to get some national pub so that people will stay up late to watch the games because of the stupid Pac-12 network. Let me just say, ex-Wildcat and Super Bowl MVP, Nick Foles broke the SI cover curse twice this year. I think that carries over to Tate, but bottom line is, in 8 starts last year, you cannot take away the talent that Khalil Tate has in 8 games. What did he pass for? 1,591 yards, 14 TDs, rushed for 1,411 yards, 12 TDs. He's going to be even better, more electrifying, and Kevin Sumlin has a big role to play in all of this.
And you hear, I'm glad you bring up coaches. You always hear when coaches talk about quarterbacks, it's intangibles. Khalil Tate's intangibles, what do we know about them right now? One, he's not available to talk to the media. I believe it's because they're not done media training him yet. He can't be trusted with a microphone in front of him. His other intangible is he doesn't really take criticism well. He doesn't take criticism well from his players. He doesn't take criticism well from the media. Can he be handled with national recognition when guys like Desmond Howard, Kirk Herbstreit are absolutely belittling and dissecting this kid?
But let's not forget that he is a leader on the field. Leading does not mean I need to scream in your face to be a leader.
It doesn't.
It's by action. And his play on the field and the way he carries himself shows the quality of a really good leader.
What games are you watching, man? I'm seeing a crybaby on the field. We'll get to it next week, I guess.
We'll keep talking about that, but he's a leader. His play action, the way he runs, the way he throws, the way he leads on the field and makes plays, that's a leader right there. All right, well, the 520 often blasts the Pac-12 networks and has often called on his commissioner, Larry Scott, to be fired. But is the network shift to finally showcase football a positive sign? Well, 6 years after launching, Pac-12 networks say it will now televise more football games and produce an on-site pregame show for the first time, making one appearance at each Pac-12 school over the course of the season. Surprisingly, this guy right here, Commissioner Larry Scott, had nothing to do with this change in programming. Surprisingly. But really?
It is surprisingly, do we even care about what he thinks about television rights or anything like that?
Him.
I still think we should fire him, but what I am happy for is a common misconception in the Pac-12 from Utah to Seattle is we're left out. We're getting the cold shoulder. And because a lot of the voters, a lot of the journalists, they don't watch the football games because they're on at midnight. So if they're not going to find it on television, they'll find it online with this new Pac-12 coverage. So I think it's a great idea. If we can't get the hype, let's make our own hype.
Look, this speaks directly to a failing Pac-12 network. Why? Because the ratings suck. Ratings, as you know, television equals revenue, right here, dollars, okay? And when you don't have that and you don't have a contract, which Larry Scott has failed to do in the 6 years of the Pac-12 network, and have a contract with DirecTV to expand those ratings, expand that audience, and expand revenue, this is what you get. But the hypocrisy of the Pac-12 network to say, oh, it was all about students and the athletes and the academics, and now to switch gears. I love it, though, but it just speaks volumes to the Pac-12 just being a failing network, and Larry Scott is the guy at the top.
Shame him. Pinch him.
All right. Well, it's time now for Rapid Fire. I fire off a topic with the local sports connection. Artie fires back a rapid response. And let me just start by saying Artie has no idea what we're going to talk about. We're just going to go mano a mano, hit him with it, and see what he has. All right. Considering ESPN's bias against Arizona, are you surprised the network was slow to report on allegations Ohio State football coach Urban Meyer knew about his assistant's domestic violence history but did nothing to report it?
That's not a surprise for me. I don't think this is necessarily a biased conversation. It might have just been they were waiting for everything to clear out because this is a lot bigger than just a football program right now.
Should he be fired?
No, I don't think he should.
Why?
Because this has nothing to do with football.
Then why did Rich Rod get fired?
We'll get to that. This is rapid. We'll get to that.
So you're going to pass?
Yes.
All right. All right.
We'll get to it.
You're going to pass. All right. 1 week after ESPN left the Arizona basketball team off the top 100 power rankings, the network released its football power rankings and gives Arizona very little chance of winning the Pac-12 title.
I think they have very little chance to begin with. Steve, my friend, you always grade Arizona as an isolation. Grade them against USC, grade them against Colorado, against Utah, against Arizona State. It's always going to be up in the air, so do they have a shot at this? It's very slim, but I don't think they do.
I think they have a shot at the Pac-12 South. By the way, you've lost so many bets, you owe me like a McDonald's franchise. All right, don't forget that. Well, despite a young trio of star players, including ex-Wildcat DeAndre Ayton, Devin Booker, and Josh Jackson, are the Phoenix Suns one star veteran away from going from pretenders to contenders.
That one missing puzzle piece was supposed to be DeAndre Ayton, so if they need one more person, that might just be a big calculation, then that's when you start having conversations about who's staying and who's leaving. So no, I think this should be the team. It may not be five games from now, it'll be 5 years from now when it finally blossoms, but I think it could.
Agreed. Ex-Wildcat Kyle Fogg and current guard for the Overseas Elite helped lead his team to a four-peat in the winner-take-all $2 million tournament. Is that a good career without making it to the NBA?
Yeah, it's always, as long as you're attached to the game, it's always a good career. Even guys like me, if you're attached to the news, even though you can't play college football, it's still a great time. I'm having fun.
And it's even better. It's even better if you don't make it to the NBA and you can make a lot of money still.
Exactly.
Right?
The idea is there.
All right, here's one for you. Arizona Cardinal center A.Q. Shipley, the heartbeat of the O-line, tore his ACL and will miss the entire 2018 season. Does this spell trouble for quarterback Sam Bradford?
This spells trouble for everyone. The O-line is the backbone of any offense. It's going to be problems for the receivers, the running backs, and the quarterbacks. You have absolutely no idea. I think they need to go through free agency to fix this problem.
Okay, three-word answer right here. ASU's new Adidas football jerseys feature an Arizona flag emblem. The Sun Devils released a promotional video. New coach, new era, new threads. Sound familiar?
Yeah, it sounds very familiar. I think I heard that one before.
All right, I got 2 words. ASU sucks.
There's the 2 words.
All right. Well, is the use of the term illegal alien to describe migrant children dehumanizing them to the point no one cares they are separated from their parents, locked in cages, and getting raped? About 572 children are still living apart from their mothers and fathers, and the Trump administration has no clue on where to find them or how to reunite them with their parents. And once again, no one cares. How is this possible in America, and why are we still talking about this?
I've always said, well, if we're going to keep them here, let's not necessarily put them to work. Let's put them through school, put them in a daycare, put them through foster care, even foster care without getting adopted. Keep them busy. Don't just continue keeping them in these camps. Go to the countries, advertise in the countries. Say, if you have not found your child yet, we may possibly have them. There's no effort even there. So I think this just isn't a priority for the U.S. government right now, even though it needs to be.
Well, the Trump administration is asking the courts now to force the ACLU to do its dirty work and find the parents to reunite them with these children. The ACLU is not a government agency, so it's going to be difficult to do. But let me just say this really quick. We've said this, and we've said it on the 520 before. When you dehumanize and call every little brown child an alien or illegal alien, you are making them less than human, and that's why I think we need to stop that. We need to call them undocumented, or we need to just call them migrant children, but not make them out to be some little spaceship riding little alien, you know, with 3 fingers and 2 big eyes or whatever, and make them seem like they're less than human. Because this is exactly what's happening. We are making, no one cares. No one cares. No, everyone's just complicit, and it's sickening. And I just can't believe we continue to allow this to happen in our country. Unbelievable, man.
On the nose, Steve.
All right, I'll calm down. Let's jump right into do we care? As you know, we love to tackle community issues and not just sports and ask ourselves, do we care? Well, the Arizona Department of Gaming says contributions to the state from tribal gambling revenue will be more than $27 million for the quarter that ended June 30th. That's a 4.4% increase compared to the same quarter last year. Why do we care?
And that's a whole lot of money, because the giant question is, are you going to redistribute the wealth in your employees, in your community, on the tribal land that you are using and occupying? What's the answer to the question?
Well, tribes are making a ton of money and they're becoming more self-sustaining. But let's look at the contribution to the state. Of that money, $27 million goes to education. $13 million that they're contributing of this money goes to emergency services. How is it, though, that our state, again, we talked about lottery money and over $200 million going to education just a week or two ago. Now we're looking at $250 million combined from lottery and gambling in this state. And we don't have money for education and teacher raises?
That sounds a little ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
Put it that way.
And meanwhile, we keep funding private prisons and are talking about sending over 2,000 prisoners from Puerto Rico to be housed in private prisons here, which means somebody's making money, and it sure as hell isn't the teachers who are making more money, you know, aside from the raises that they just got.
I agree.
Wow.
Tucson City Council is considering a proposal to raise the age to buy cigarettes, e-cigarettes, and vaping products from 18 to 21 years old. Do we care?
We do care, and I'm all about smoking prevention, but raising the age from 18 to 21 does nothing more than raise what happened when they raised the age from 18 to 21 for drinking. You still see 18, 19, and 20-year-olds drinking
in public, having a good time.
In public, and doing so illegally. What do you think is going to happen with cigarettes?
Nothing.
16-year-olds already getting their hands on cigarettes. So it's not going to change anything. Again, it's just a little bit too much government overreach. And if you're 18, you're an adult, then you make your own stupid decision if you want to smoke.
I agree, and that's the thing about it, is the initial reason for the age the age line was for medical purposes. So if there's no medical purposes to raise the age line, that's all it's going to do, is people will just poke and throw a cattle prod at it until it's death.
Okay, one more, quickly. A new report shows Suntran ridership is down about 100,000 riders in the first 4 months of this year compared to the same time period last year. Do we care?
Yeah, we have to care. The riders are down because there's no effort to compete with things like Uber and Lyft. They're trying to be self-sustaining, and it's absolutely not working. And stop raising prices.
Stop raising prices and stop giving raises to bus drivers who strike every 2 years. Then maybe ridership and trust in the public transportation will increase. All right, you've heard the phrase, "Oh, no, you didn't." Well, here at the 520, we're not afraid to tell it like it is with, "Oh, yes, we did." And I will get started. Well, Randy Moss, the star receiver turned NFL analyst for ESPN, was one of 8 former players inducted into the Hall of Fame last weekend. Moss, who's often vocal and animated, has never been shy to share his thoughts or speak his mind. But on the night of the Hall of Fame, and with this huge platform, Moss chose to make a silent yet powerful statement with this tie, which displayed the names of 12 black men and women who were killed as a result of police brutality. The tie featured the names Greg Gunn, Tamir Rice, Akai Gurley, Paul O'Neill, Eric Gardner, Freddie Gray, Walter Scott, Sandra Bland, Akil Denkins, Alton Sterling, Michael Brown, and Trayvon Martin, all in gold lettering. When asked about his tie following his speech induction, Moss said he wanted the victims' families to know they're not alone. As you'll recall, Colin Kaepernick first started to kneel during the national anthem in 2016. His silent protest was to bring attention to police brutality and systemic racism that still exists today. His protest was not and never has been about the anthem, and had nothing to do with disrespecting patriotism, the military, or the men and women who have sacrificed their lives protecting the very same right to peacefully protest. But what Moss's silent statement has taught us is that the conversation is still the same. Today, as it was 2 years ago. Black athletes continue to stand alone because we as a nation refuse to talk about inequality and racism. As a result, we've digressed 100 years to 1917 when African Americans had to march in silent protest in Manhattan, mourning those killed in a wave of anti-African American violence that swept across the nation. Imagine that. We have been put back 100 years. We are so much better than this. Let's start a dialogue now.
Starting the dialogue, I have some dialogue, another bone to pick. With the release of Madden 2019 on the horizon, EA Sports is already in some muddy water before the first copies even hit the shelf. In the soundtrack, there was a lyric that had reference to Colin Kaepernick, quote, "You boys all Cap, I'm more Colin Kaepernick." EA Sports removed Cap's name from the song as if it were a swear word or reference to something obscene like pole dancing or drug trafficking. I understand the importance of censorship in an E-rated game, but I don't understand this. References to Al Capone and dead presidents have been made in previous games, which we can agree have negative repercussions. Even O.J. Simpson, who was nearly banned from the NFL, has seen the light of day in Madden. But for unforeseen circumstances, this is where we draw the line. And I think I speak for Steve and myself when I say I challenge anyone, absolutely anyone, to reply to us on Facebook or Twitter on why, for any reason, Colin Kaepernick should continue to be censored in public media. Because ultimately, he has done nothing outrageous. After football, his life's work has been teaching youth how to handle being pulled over. We can all agree this needs some addressing. Is that call for mass censorship of his name and brand? If you agree, you're part of the problem. EA Sports has ultimately reversed their mistake with an apology, but this raises a very important question. Why have we begun to blacklist Colin Kaepernick? His protest, his claims, his support? Ultimately, no one can answer the question, and until then, minorities will be forced to seem like outlaws just for pointing out inaccuracies.
And just for exercising our First Amendment right, freedom of speech, freedom to protest.
Freedom to assemble.
Peacefully, I might add.
Of course.
Peacefully. And that's the key word. It's peaceful. Not disrespectful, peaceful. Even if you don't agree. Because I don't agree with kneeling during the national anthem, but I agree with why they're doing it. And I understand it.
And I also agree that minorities were forced and put into a corner to where they had to protest on one of the busiest days of the week to get its recognition. It didn't get recognition until then.
I agree. Well said, man. All right. Before we go, take a look at the clip of the week. Check this out. Brennan Metzger, a player with the Fargo-Moorhead Redhawks, an A-team out of North Dakota, got into a heated discussion with the ump, Mike Jarbo, for calling him out on a third strike. Metzger then took a garbage can from the dugout, walked straight to the plate, and placed it behind home plate, giving new meaning to taking out the trash.
Yeah, and Oscar the Grouch didn't live in that one.
Maybe Jarbo does.
Maybe Jarbo does. Yeah, you got to admit, you can't agree with the obscenity that he had, but you got to admit, that was a little funny.
It was funny.
He went there and we laughed.
Poor sport, but, you know.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Good fun.
Come on. Poor ump. He's only an A-ball umpire, man. He's getting paid like $50. Give him a break, man.
And free snack bar food.
Yeah, if he's lucky. Well, that does it for this episode of the 520. Our goal is to tell it like it is because it's all about giving voice to opinions, even if you don't agree.
Be sure to follow the 520 on Facebook and on Twitter at the 520 Tucson.
And if you have a topic you want us to cover, send us an email at the 520@KVOA.com. I'm Steve Nunez.
I'm Marty Mata IV. Thanks for joining us.
Go Wildcats.